You know what I heard? Thanos, aka the Mad Titan, actually sleeps in footy pajamas with little hearts on them. Hey, just because you look like Barney after serving some hard time in prison doesn't mean your feet don't get cold. Just don't judge him too harshly on that, okay? It might hurt his reputation. But seriously, Thanos has some interesting secrets that he probably wouldn't want the Avengers to find out. What are some of his biggest? Well, let's get into it right now. Quick, who's the strongest hero you can think of in Marvel Comics? Well, whatever you're thinking, it's wrong because the correct answer is the all-powerful Squirrel Girl. That's right, her name strikes fear into the hearts of Celestials, Eternals, and Mad Titans everywhere. If you met Squirrel Girl in a dark alley one night, I hope you have your affairs in order because chances are your body will never be found. Okay, fine, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the hero, aka Doreen Green, did beat Thanos. Squirrel Girl has a superhuman agility and strength, and yes, obviously she can talk to squirrels. She crossed paths with Thanos in a not exactly canon comic book, but who cares? It's still fun to say that she beat Thanos. How do you think she did it? I mean, Thanos is strong and all, but do you think he's stronger than a massive squirrel army? I don't think so. You remember how hard it was for the big three, meaning Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, to take down Thanos? The Mad Titan was just this hulking mass of strength, and he just would not go down. Now imagine if the Avengers had to face 5 Thanoses. What's the plural for multiple versions of Thanos? Anyways, in the comics at one point, Thanos wasn't just happy with one of him and set out to splice his DNA with other powerful individuals. That included Iron Man, Professor X, Doctor Strange, Gladiator, and Galactus. Not a bad crop of individuals, right? I mean, if I was making clones of myself, I'd probably choose those individuals too. These 5 clones went by the names Armor, X, Mystic, Warrior, and Omega. These clones actually hated Thanos and wanted to take him and the rest of the universe out, forcing Thanos to destroy them all. See, Thanos? That's why you just don't clone yourself. In the MCU, it's been pretty well established that Thanos has 2 daughters, Gamora and Nebula. He raised them both since they were little and constantly pitted them against each other, which mostly led to Nebula getting some shiny new robotic upgrades on a frequent basis. And as twisted as Thanos was, he truly loved Gamora, which made it harder for him to fling Gamora off that Vormir cliff to get the Soul Stone. But Thanos does actually have some other little tykes running around. He has other children. And no, I'm not just referring to the children of Thanos that we saw in Infinity War and Endgame, otherwise known as the Black Order. That's just a weird title they have. Seriously, did they choose the name Children of Thanos for themselves and no one bothered to change it? Anyway, Thanos does actually have a legit son named Thane, who was introduced in New Avengers Volume 3, Issue number 10. He was the offspring of Thanos and an unknown Inhuman woman. But don't think Thanos changed a lot of diapers, as Thane was kept secret and grew up in an inhuman city until Thanos found out and came looking for him. Also, it should be noted that he does have a semi-child with Death, named Rot, really great name. The sentient being was created after Thanos died, and his energies were combined with Death, producing Rot. Weird, I know. We met Thanos after Titan was destroyed and the purple baddie was on his quest to collect the Infinity Stone, so we didn't get to know much about Thanos' past. A being of pure power like that makes it hard to picture what they were like growing up. But it's true, Thanos was once a baby with a mother and a father. His father is actually a super interesting character named Alars, aka Mentor. Mentor is part of the Eternals race and in the comics was the leader of Titan. Chances are he was more powerful than Thanos as he was pure eternal. Besides the normal superhuman strength, the durability, stamina, etc. that usually comes with all these advanced alien races, man, humans are just like these fleshy sponges, aren't they? Mentor did have another unique power. He could manipulate cosmic energy to his will. Now, what exactly is cosmic energy is always loosely defined, but it just means that Mentor is someone who you do not want to mess with. Here's hoping we can catch a glimpse of him since he was mentioned in Infinity War and could show up in the upcoming Eternals movie. Okay, picture this. Avengers headquarters was just attacked in Endgame by Thanos' forces. It's completely decimated. Our heroes stagger out to safety and see Thanos' huge army. Then, out of the smoke and mist comes Thanos, flying a helicopter right into battle. I mean, Endgame is already close to a perfect movie, but I still think they could have worked in the Thanos-Copter in some capacity, don't you? Yes, in the early comics, Thanos did have his own helicopter to help him fly around. You know, because he was a stylish individual. It even had his name on the back of it. Which makes me want a scene where the giant Thanos goes to the local helicopter store, test drives a few of them, picks the right one, and then asks the guy to paint his name on the back. Come on, Marvel, give Thanos his Thanos-Copter. As we all know, the Marvel Universe is filled with an endless supply of powerful objects. It seems like everywhere you look, you'll find some massive weapon that promotes itself as the most powerful object in the whole universe. Whether it's Infinity Stones, Cosmic Cubes, etc., there's always some MacGuffin. So that brings us to the Heart of the Universe, which, judging by its name, might be the most powerful energy in existence. Like, it sounds like it trumps the Infinity Stones, right? Well, the Heart of the Universe is an ancient energy source that has the ability to make whoever wields it the supreme being of the universe. So yeah, that's definitely something Thanos would want at his disposal. Think we'll see the Heart of the Universe in the MCU? Only time will tell. Drax the Destroyer quickly became a fan-favorite character thanks to the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But his backstory is quite different in the MCU than it is in Marvel Comics. One of the biggest differences? He was actually created to stop Thanos. You see, Kronos, who was Thanos' grandfather, was actually in a war with Thanos and wanted to find a way to stop him. As the original story goes, a human named Arthur Douglas had a family who was killed by Thanos. Kronos took Arthur's spirit and placed it in a new body, and thus Drax the Destroyer was born. Given such a Thanos-heavy backstory, it's a shame we didn't get more interaction between Drax and the Mad Titan, but I guess that's understandable. There was a lot going on, and I doubt with everything happening in the next phase of the MCU, we're suddenly going to reveal Drax was once a human living on Earth. That'd be too crazy, even for the Guardians of the Galaxy. When Thanos showed up on screen the first few times, we didn't really know much about him besides having a tendency to pop up in mid-credit scenes and having a different shade of purple practically every time we saw him. But it's not like all the people on Titan where he was born had purple skin and looked like Thanos. Turns out he actually had the Deviant Syndrome. We all know now that Titan came from the Eternals, but when an Eternal is born with the Deviant gene, they turn out similar to Thanos. Talk about a tough break. Like, I would hope the children of Titan were nice enough to not make fun of the strange kid with purple skin, plus growing up with the Deviant Syndrome probably only helped Thanos come to the conclusion that half the universe needed to be wiped out. In the original comic series that Infinity War is based on, Thanos had a special thing for farming. Seriously. The Mad Titan, the guy who could bring the Hulk to his knees and make the universe quake in fear, enjoyed farming. What a strange hobby. In the comics, 60 days after failing to conquer the galaxy and win the love of Mistress Death, Thanos was found on a random planet farming away. Like, the Mad Titan liked farming so much that he literally got rid of his armor and placed it on a scarecrow to protect his crops. It offered a unique new side to Thanos, who was more than happy to be rid of the power and responsibility that the Infinity Gauntlet came with. He'd just rather sit and grow corn. Sometimes the MCU is able to seamlessly adapt certain comic elements to make them fit with the story they're trying to tell. The Cosmic Cube is a big example of this. We all know now that the Cosmic Cube, also known as the Tesseract, held the Space Stone within it, which ended up making a lot of sense since it allowed travel to anywhere in the universe and was the key to unlocking immense power. But the comics have the Cosmic Cube and the Space Stone as two separate things. The Cosmic Cube in the comics can change reality and warp matter and energy. It's basically another super powerful object. Before the Infinity Stones, Thanos was trying to get that Cosmic Cube. Thanos the Mad Titan. What a cool name. It's almost like it's made up. Well, to be fair, all names are made up, but it's especially true in this case. Thanos isn't actually Thanos' true name, which is probably something the Red Skull should check. Originally, Thanos was going to be named Dione, which is completely different than Thanos. We learn this in the comic series Thanos number 14 when Thanos fights an older version of himself. As it's presented, Thanos' mother was going to name him Dione, but when she saw that Thanos was a deviant, the first word out of her mouth was Thanos, and that one ended up sticking. Well, Thanos definitely looks like a Thanos, not a Dione. One element the MCU really didn't push too hard on is Thanos' fascination with death. But we all know how in the comics a major driving force for Thanos is his obsession and love of Mistress Death. Most of his actions see Thanos doing everything in his power to win her love, which is just downright creepy. I mean, what's your goal, Thanos? To marry Death and then go retire on a farm somewhere? Well, he'd probably like that. What do you think Infinity War and Endgame would have been like if the death-loving, comic-accurate Thanos was used instead of the one we got? Now that's a crazy what-if scenario. Thanos just looks like an only child, doesn't he? Well, in the comics, Thanos actually has a brother named Eros, and the two couldn't be more different. For starters, Eros is more of a hero, having teamed up with the Avengers a few times, but his powers are a little creepy. One of his abilities is that he can manipulate pleasure centers of a person's brain, which means he can make women fall in love with him. And if you think this was problematic, then you'd be correct. Eros even finds himself in legal trouble in a She-Hulk comic after someone sues him for manipulating them. Man, I wonder what conversations between Eros and Thanos would be like in the MCU. Thanos has always been pretty consistent in his goals for complete universe domination. But it doesn't help when everyone around him keeps betraying him. Maybe it's because Thanos surrounds himself with fellow power-hungry, untrustworthy people, or maybe Thanos is just a nightmare to work with. But everyone who works with Thanos seems to turn on him eventually. And while he's often betrayed in the comics, the MCU has actually shown his followers turn on him as well. Obviously, Ronan is the best example of this, but let's not forget that Loki also ended up betraying Thanos and even tried to kill him. It didn't work out for Loki there in the end, but it was worth a shot, right? No matter if you're a mass murderer who's determined to wipe out most of the universe and control everything, you can still enjoy the holiday season. And as it turns out, Thanos actually celebrates Christmas. It's true. In the 1992 Marvel Holiday Special Volume 1, there's a panel that sees Thanos sitting around a Christmas tree while Gamora opens gifts. It's an oddly sweet moment for the two of them, but it does raise many questions. Where is this happening? Did Thanos bring Gamora to Earth so that they could celebrate Christmas in some random house? Does Thanos like other holidays like Thanksgiving, Arbor Day, Easter, Halloween, etc.? Now it's just a bummer we didn't get to hear Thanos utter one Merry Christmas or anything like that. Did you ever think that when you look at Thanos in the right light that he actually just looks like famous actor Josh Brolin, star of Deadpool 2? Well, there might just be a reason for that. Turns out, Thanos does actually have human DNA, which is an interesting connection overall. In the comics, the Celestials created 3 new species: the Eternals, the Deviants, and the Humans. This eventually created a crossed gene pool, and Thanos' parents were actually born on Earth, which is what gives him his slightly human characteristics. Again, only time will tell how much the Eternals movie will dive into the history of the Eternals and the Deviants, but definitely keep your eyes peeled. You gotta hand it to Thanos, he does have a way to get everybody to hate him. That's a unique ability. Not everyone has that skill. But no matter if you're a fleshy human Avenger on Earth or one of the most powerful cosmic beings in the universe, chances are you have some beef with Thanos. In the comics, during the Infinity Gauntlet story, Adam Warlock travels around the universe looking for people to help fight against Thanos. He's able to round up some pretty powerful individuals, if I do say so myself. These include the Celestials, Galactus, Master Order, and Lord Chaos, among others. I know Endgame was really focused on our Avengers, but how epic would it have been if Captain Marvel arrived on the battlefield with these uber-powerful astral deities? It would have made the battle even more epic than it already was. If there's one thing Infinity War and Endgame missed out on, it's the inclusion of Adam Warlock. I'm sure we all know that Adam Warlock was a main character in the comics during this event, but due to the desire to focus on heroes we already knew and cared about, Adam was left out entirely. And honestly, Thanos must be happy about that because this guy is seriously powerful with the use of quantum magic. And as compelling as Thanos was in Infinity War, and maybe not so much Endgame, it would have been even better to see him interact with someone else who truly knew the Mad Titan, and that's where Adam Warlock could have played a huge part in the story. It's not hard to guess that Thanos had a rough childhood thanks to his Deviant Syndrome, but it's rough to know just how cruel his childhood actually was. While his father, Alars, had a strong bond with his son and didn't mind his appearance, his mother, Susan, couldn't stand the sight of him. She even tried to kill Thanos when he was younger because she was so terrified of what he would grow up to become. Of course, it didn't work and Thanos was rescued by his father, but the memory of his mom almost killing him because of what he looked like must have done wonders for Thanos' psyche, don't you think? You want to know Thanos' biggest weakness? It's not Thor's gigantic axe or a huge Hulk smash, but rather it's his appearance and his insecurity. You know the stereotype how people who look the most confident are actually the ones hurting the most? Well, it's true in Thanos' case. In the comics, Thanos is so insecure that he actually wants to be beaten. A character mentions that Thanos has lost a lot of his battles in the past because he himself gave the heroes the means to defeat him. That's some serious psychological issues right there. Now I wish we could have seen more scenes of Iron Man and Star-Lord making fun of the Mad Titan. I also heard a rumor that when he snapped his fingers with the Infinity Stones, he secretly got rid of every bad Adam Sandler movie in existence. So is Thanos really all that bad? It's hard to say.